On November 18th, 1995, Tupac was photographed with Sean Diddy Combs' baby mom, Sarah Chapman. Diddy described Sarah as being the one. Every man has a girl who is the one, and Sarah was Diddy's. But once she turned on Diddy to now date Tupac, there was a huge problem. As in the Diddy trial, it was then announced, former LAPD cop claims Diddy had Tupac dealt with for $1 million, Suge retaliated by having Biggie dealt with, as shortly after Tupac and Sarah Chapman broke off their relationship, Diddy was not happy. Diddy would then hire Keefe D to go get Tupac, as after he was walking free for 20 years, the police finally arrested him and he did a police interrogation. Now, he didn't know he was being recorded when confessing that Diddy was the lead man of the crime. He was paid $1 million to do the crime, and he was all in a retaliation for taking his girl.
On all four of those occasions, there's San Diego, Anaheim, Irvine, and Vegas. Which ones do you actually talk to Puffy at?
Every one.
Every one of them. Which of those four is it when you talk to him about murdering Tupac?
It was really about both of them. Either one. It was
Tupac and Suge, you mean?
Yeah.
As Diddy would be questioned about his involvement, the news wrote, Diddy faces questions about his alleged role in Tupac's murder after being mentioned 77 times in a new legal filing. As Keefe D was the hired hitman of the crime, he would end up snitching on Diddy, exposing him, saying everything was his wish. He even explained that it occurred so fast, all because Tupac was reaching for his firearm when he passed away.
You said that as you're driving up towards the BMW with Suge driving and Tupac in the passenger seat, and you said that Tupac pulled out
It looked like he was reaching, yeah. Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you actually?
No, once he got the reaching, I got the ducking.
So someone from your car
That's what happened.
started at Tupac and Suge.
This would end up hitting news headlines extremely fast. Even 50 Cent would react.
I hate when they leave me to talk because I always say the wrong thing. I was like, last time they left me, I said something about Puffy. You saw that? Clip? Yeah! I gotta stop doing that kind of shit. I've been talking to a therapist trying to help me with the I'm saying. I said crazy shit. No reason. Oh wait, maybe I said it about Puffy because he got Tupac killed.
But alongside the reactions, there would also be a viral clip of people that confronted Diddy for being responsible for Tupac's murder, such as this awkward Breakfast Club interview.
Now, it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking. Thank you.
Because you, listen, 7 years ago, I'd have been like, yo, did you hire somebody? But no, you do it like a journalist.
Yeah, no, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying? It's nonsense.
Which we never believed, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
But when you investigate further into the police records, it shows evidence of Diddy not acting alone. In case you missed it, it was also announced the reinvestigation of Tupac's murder is revealing new names and evidence of those involved. New name brought up is Suge Knight, as Eminem would react to the news saying, I'm holding Suge Knight responsible for the death of the two greatest rappers to ever grace the face of the planet. If only the late Christopher Wallace could talk, he could tell you himself, as I'm holding Suge responsible for the death of Ja Rule or anyone else that was down with the row. As according to police records, it reads, Detective Russell Poole suspected that Suge Knight arranged Tupac's murder before he could exit the label. He then framed the rival Crips to throw off investigators, which raises a very important question of who is a famous Crip gang member that Suge Knight would pin Tupac's murder on. Now, according to Mike Dorsey, Diddy is a part of the Crips. However, the most famous Crip in the entire world is Snoop Dogg. Now, his file is even more interesting when you learn that he was supposed to be in the BMW with Tupac on the night that he died.
You were with Tupac, though, in regards to Tupac. I heard a story, did you give him different advice that night on where to go?
I didn't give him no advice.
Right.
We wasn't seeing eye to eye.
Right.
So.
Saying during the Tyson.
Yeah, this incident that I'm explaining to you right now was the day before that.
Okay.
So when they got to Vegas, they went their way, I went back. I mean, when we got to LA, they went to Vegas and I went home.
That's why I wasn't in the car with them.
As when piecing all of this evidence together, it really starts to connect the dots. Snoop Dogg mentions he was supposed to be in the BMW, but after a last-minute change, he just didn't go. He would explain that this was due to him, Tupac, and Suge Knight having an altercation just a day prior.
The last time me and Tupac was on the same page, and I did an interview with Angie Martinez, and she asked me how did I feel about Puffy and Biggie, and I told her that I like their music and I want to do music with them. Bro didn't like that, Tupac didn't like that, so we had a misunderstanding. So on the flight back to LA, I didn't feel comfortable around them for what they had did, as far as I didn't let my security ride with me. So to protect myself and to, prevent from happening, I slept under a blanket with the knife and the fork just in case something was to go wrong, but it didn't.
Now, with all of this happening within 48 hours of Tupac's murder, it made the police very suspicious. However, one officer had an idea. He would end up exposing that Tupac was an industry plant with a job of stopping the beef between the Bloods and the Crips. And with Snoop Dogg being a part of the Crips, he may have received a tip that Tupac was either going to be targeted on that night or that he was working with the feds.
Well, it turns out when I talked to Tupac's longtime mentor, political mentor, former Black Panther Chokwe Lumumba, who was his first business manager, he's told me, I basically asked, well, was Tupac only pretending to be in order to appeal to gangs and politicize them? And he said yes. And that was part of his thug life agenda they came up with his imprisoned stepfather, Mutulu Shakur. And so Tupac was just using that in order to get the and the leaders to call peace truces, first in Los Angeles, then throughout California, and then throughout the country. And that was why he was pretending to be this gangster type. And really, he was just an intellectual prodigy.
However, Snoop Dogg would end up denying these claims. He would end up revealing that he only didn't go because he felt like Tupac hated him just a day prior.
I say a week before he died, we was best of friends. 2 days before he died, I don't think he liked me.
Why?
Because we was in New York.
Oh, yeah.
And it happened. New York, they shot at me and did all kind of shit to me, like just the worst you could think of. And I forgave him. And went and did an interview and was asked, how do I feel about Puffy and Biggie? And I was like, I want to do some music with them. And that just rubbed Cuz the wrong way, like tried to get me out at you, and you talking about you want to do a song with it. I wasn't thinking about his emotions. I was thinking about the way I felt at the time. I wasn't into no controversy. I liked his music. They was our friends. We was all friends at one point. This video footage of all of us hanging out.
Now, when you connect all of that evidence I just shared with you to the official police records of Tupac's death, you really start to see the actual picture, as Keffe D would explain everything. He would explain that on September 7th, 1996, Tupac was in Las Vegas with the head of his record label, Suge Knight. With the two going off to the MGM Grand to watch a Mike Tyson match, when they would end up leaving, they spotted an op in the lobby of the arena where they would have a full-out brawl.
Suge Knight and their entourage went to the Mike Tyson at the MGM Grand. Keefe D and his nephew, Orlando Lane Anderson, and two of their friends were also there. Keefe D told LAPD Detective Greg Kading more than a decade ago, in a proffer that couldn't be used against him, the shooting was retaliation after Tupac jumped Orlando and beat him up at the casino. Surveillance cameras recorded the fight. Tupac was angry that Lane had stolen his necklace years prior in Compton. Tupac, Suge Knight, and the entourage left the casino quickly.
Now, security would break up the altercation between Tupac, Suge, and the ops. However, it resulted in Tupac and Suge needing to go back to their hotel to change their clothing. But around 11 p.m., the two would begin driving to the club, where they would start driving down the Las Vegas Strip. Being stopped at a red light, an opposing vehicle filled with rival gang members would pull up alongside Tupac and do the crime.
Knew about Tupac's concert at the Club 662. Members, including Orlando and Keefe D, jumped in their white Cadillac and started cruising the strip looking for the offender. Before long, they finally spotted Tupac's caravan. At the intersection of East Flamingo Boulevard and Koval Lane, the white Cadillac pulled alongside the black BMW with Suge on the driver and Tupac on the passenger seats. The back window of the Cadillac rolled twice in the chest, once in the arm, once in the thigh.
Now, I want you to understand how crazy this is. The Tupac murder case was cold for 2 decades, until suddenly a man by the name of Keefe D would do a show with DJ Vlad. During the interview, he literally detailed the moments of finding Tupac, pulling up on him, and committing the crime.
And Bubble Up was the driver, and Baby Lane and Freaky were in the back seat.
We was just all in the car together. Just say that.
This was the white Cadillac.
Yeah.
So you guys are driving around, and then you hear these girls say, "Tupac, Tupac."
Got to the light. He was going to go drink, and he happened to be hanging out the window. He's hanging out the window like he was in a parade.
Tupac.
Yeah, he was.
So what happens next? You said that as you're driving up towards the BMW, with Suge driving and Tupac in the passenger seat.
This is an example of self-snitching at its finest, but many people didn't believe him. The case was cold for 2 decades. No one really knew what happened. This is until Keefe D would go even further by sharing a police interrogation on the night of the crime, confirming that he was actually there and the police already suspected that he had involvement.
Lane starts. You say Suge looks over, he sees you. He looks right at you?
Yeah, he looks at me.
Okay. When he looks over at you, and then, Tupac's busy getting evidently, the story is Tupac's trying to either get out of the line.
back seat or something.
Yeah, what do you see happening inside of their car?
I seen him going Suge head. I thought he was.
So Orlando across Dre?
He leaned over on the window, we rolled down the window.
This is when Keefe D's official reaction to Tupac passing away would go viral online, as he just self-snitched on being responsible.
Yeah, I hate that happened, dog. I really do, man. Cause it took a lot of people's lives, dude. I hate that happen. Promise to God. I feel they should, that was wrong, man. It was just wrong, purely wrong. You know what I'm saying? I wish it had never happened. You know what I'm saying? That's my opinion on it. Wish it never happened, dude.
But here's where the story gets even crazier. You need to remember, it's Hollywood, as there is strong evidence supporting that Tupac is still alive, and all Hollywood is doing is throwing an elderly man inside a jail, as the evidence of Tupac still being alive is getting extremely strong. And let me explain. There's a 2010 interview with a rapper named Tretch. In this interview, he would reveal that him and Tupac were extremely close friends. They even worked on a few albums together. Here's where it gets weird. After Tretch's interview, the cameraman forgot to stop recording. He placed his camera onto the ground, and in the footage you can hear the interviewer asking Tretch about Tupac, to which Tretch responds, "Last time I saw him, he was in Cuba."
So if you ain't ready for it, get on the sidewalk.
One last question.
Nobody knows.
Y'all good? Yeah, we good. Thanks a lot, man. We good.
Last time I saw him, he was in church.
Then, only 1 week later, released onto a news website, was a video of somebody chilling in a parking lot that looked exactly like Tupac in Cuba.
Zoom in. That's Pac, man. He went to outlaw. And Reg from Holla Back, just trying to be friendly and get autographs. Holla Back exclusive, baby. Holla Back.
But what's even crazier is, the man that was sitting beside Tupac in the BMW, Suge Knight, also says he's alive. He has said so in many interviews over the course of the last 2 decades, but it's one particular interview that makes it very convincing. He stated that Tupac was doing fine in the hospital before passing away, stating in quote, "When I left that hospital, me and Tupac were laughing and joking. I don't see how someone can turn from doing so well to doing bad."
I mean, when I left that hospital, me and Pac was laughing and joking. So I don't see how somebody can turn from doing well to doing bad.
So you seriously think that he might still be alive?
I'm gonna tell you this, Pac, you never know.
But what's weird about it is, according to police records, it reveals that Tupac was supposedly in a coma when arriving to the hospital. So how in the world would he and Suge be laughing if Tupac was unconscious? It doesn't seem to add up. However, when comparing it to a 2008 interview 10 years apart, Suge Knight said the same thing. Tupac is alive and well.
So he was conscious on the way to the hospital?
He was conscious on the way to the hospital. He was conscious in the ambulance. He was conscious after they did the surgery.
What was the last thing that he said to you?
They left.